Welcome to the Meet the Finalists panel. I'm Jerome Davis, Executive Vice President of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce and President of the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation. Now listen, I know that we all were expecting to be in person for this wonderful event. However, Mother Nature happened to win this battle, but it didn't knock us out. So we still got a wonderful event here we want to present to you, and with many of our partners, particularly Nine News, and all of the staff of the chamber, we've been able to put this together to still get it to you and honor our finalists. The Leadership Foundation believes in strengthening Colorado one leader at a time. We make this happen by educating and inspiring people who want to make a difference as leaders in their community. With nearly 50 years of experience, we're proud of our work in building and connecting strong, diverse leaders in our community. This includes our senior leadership team, including JJ Ament, who's our CEO and President of the Denver Metro Chamber of Commerce, and Raymond Gonzalez, EVP of the Denver Metro Chamber and President of Metro Denver EDC. Today, we'll have the opportunity to hear from three amazing individuals, leaders who are visionary, strategic, and courageous enough to take on some of our biggest challenges. And best of all, they're dedicating their time and talents to our Denver Metro community. For over 25 years, the Denver Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation and Nine News have honored leaders in our community who have made a significant contributions to the well-being and development of our state. This year marks the beginning of honoring the next 25 years of leaders who will continue this tradition. Selecting three finalists for this award is never an easy task. We received numerous inspiring applications from leaders who embody the Chamber's Colorado civic DNA: inclusivity, collaboration, shared vision, leadership, and responsibility. After careful consideration, we're excited to introduce John, Lorez, and Peter as our 2024 finalists. Their remarkable stories of leadership will undoubtedly inspire both current and future leaders in Colorado. Before we begin, we want to recognize the partners who make both the Nine News Leader of the Year Award and Leading Colorado Luncheon possible. First, our trustee members. We are so grateful for their all-in support of our mission. Certainly, we want to thank Nine News for being our partner throughout the years and especially for helping us in transitioning this event to a virtual live stream. We also want to thank a few key partners for our Leading Colorado Luncheon on April 11th, where Nine News Leader of the Year will be revealed live. The presenting sponsor of the Leading Colorado Luncheon, Huntington Bank. The visionary sponsors of Leading Colorado, DaVita, Key Bank, and Molson Coors. Thank you all for being such valued partners over the last couple of years. We also want to make sure to thank our galvanizing sponsors, which include Barefoot PR and Suncor. We hope you will join us for the big event on April 11th. Don't forget to register. Now, let's welcome Joe Nimmons, Colorado Regional President from Huntington Bank.
Thank you, Jerome. Look, I'll be brief because I cannot wait to meet this year's Student Leader of the Year finalists, as well as and hear directly from John, Lorez, and Peter. You know, Jerome is right. This year's finalists are truly extraordinary, and it's a real treat for all of us to hear from them directly, learn from their experiences, and be exposed to some of the great insights they've accumulated over years of service and hard work. All of us at Huntington are delighted to be associated again with this fantastic event. You know, one reason is the obvious overlap between Colorado's civic DNA and Huntington's core values that prioritize having a can-do attitude, living with the service heart, and always being forward-thinking. This year's finalists possess those qualities in abundance, and we celebrate the many ways their work is making our community stronger, more resilient, and more welcoming to all. Bravo, and thank you for your contributions. At this point, I'd like to hand things off to Tiffany Anderson from the Boettcher Foundation.
Thank you, Joe. Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here today to introduce the 2024 Betcher Student Leader of the Year finalists. In a few minutes, we're going to reveal the finalists, which will culminate with the announcement of the 2024 Student Leader of the Year. And that individual will get to speak at the Leading Colorado Luncheon on April 11th. Sharing the stories of these young leaders aligns with the Betcher mission to connect and elevate Colorado's doers and difference makers. At Betcher, we believe in the promise of Colorado and the potential of Coloradans because courageous leadership benefits every community in our state. By investing in people, programs, and organization, we provide the foundation for transformational impact and community building. We are proud to partner annually with the Leadership Foundation to recognize the Betcher Student Leader of the Year finalists. As you will see, these courageous individuals excel across the selection categories. They achieve academically, they exemplify extraordinary leadership and support their campus leadership programs. They demonstrate exceptional community service, and they display outstanding character. We know that the undergraduate years are the critical time for young people to develop their leadership and cultivate their confidence. It is our hope that this path of civic-minded service continues to catalyze their giving back to Colorado for generations to come. We are lucky that the finalists are with us today. Gabriel Trujillo, Gia Genova, Xavier Atta, and Talia Murphy. 3 of the finalists were able to share a bit more about themselves and how they are helping to move Colorado forward. We're going to take the next few minutes for them to share that now.
Hello everyone, my name is Gabe Trujillo, my pronouns are he, him, his. I am a current senior at MSU Denver and I'm studying psychology with a minor in Spanish. I'm also part of the student government and I am the tri-institutional representative on a committee called SACAP. There are several ways that I'm inspired throughout my day and my life. One of those is my mom. She was a single mother of 4 and an immigrant to this country, and despite our circumstances, she made sure that my brothers and I could be successful and have the best life that we could. And another source of inspiration is my advisor for student government, Dr. Barone, who is a Latina woman creating and cultivating leadership positions for diverse folks in higher education. And she really is my inspiration and has inspired me to go into higher education to continue the amazing work that she has done. And lastly, I'm just inspired by the amazing, happy little moments and joys of life. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Talia and I am a junior accounting student at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. In addition to owning multiple businesses here in Colorado Springs, I serve on the Student Advisory Board for the College of Business. I am the treasurer for the Accounting Honor Society and the state collegiate president for the Future Business Leaders of America organization. What inspires me is just seeing people elevate to the next level in their life, whether that be for themselves, their families, or for both. I have always had a passion for helping others, and to further my passion, I will establish a nonprofit organization with the mission of providing financial education to marginalized communities to equip them with the knowledge and resources to make better financial decisions and create generational wealth, thereby narrowing the income and wealth gap in our country. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Xavier Atta. I am currently a 4th year at the University of Denver. I am currently studying socio-legal studies and criminology with a minor in leadership. Thinking about inspiration, my inspiration usually stems from change. I think change can be good or bad, but for the most part, I embrace change as new opportunities. And inspiration for me has always stemmed from my parents teaching me that change is not something to fear, but something to embrace. They've always encouraged me to step out of my comfort zone, to take risks, and to never settle. So that's kind of where my inspiration stems from. Thank you so much.
Those 3 are extraordinary. Gia wasn't able to submit her video. However, she isn't any less impactful. She embodies the spirit of compassion and resiliency exemplified through her dedication to nursing and community service. As a nursing student at CSU Pueblo, she integrated her academics with hands-on experience at the Parkview Medical Center, where she showed genuine care for patients and that shine through every day. Despite her facing challenges and setbacks, Gia's unwavering commitment to uplifting others and fostering meaningful connections was reflected in her innate strength and determination. As you can see, all of these finalists are huge community leaders and are showing huge impact both on their campuses and in their communities. So from the Betcher Foundations, I want to show huge congratulations, say how proud we are of each of these finalists, and say thank you for submitting your applications. It was such an honor to be a part of the interviews. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we get to honor one of the winners, and it is now time for the big reveal. This year's 2024 honoree is Gabe Trujillo. Yay, I want to tell just a little bit more about Gabe. As he said in his video, he's an MSU student in his 3rd year. He has served in many leadership roles on the campus, including a student trustee and is the chair of the Student Affairs Board chair. Additionally, he has championed increasing opportunities and bettering the college experience for undocumented students and has done extraordinary work in that space. However, his most important leadership role is being the guardian for his 2 younger brothers alongside his older brother. That is right, he is a parent. His family loves spending time together, playing video games and playing soccer and taking family adventures across Colorado. When we asked him in his interview if it was more challenging to lead on the campus or to lead as a parent, he said it really depended on the day. We are so proud to recognize you as the 2024 Betcher Student Leader of the Year. And I just ask that you all congratulate him in the comments below. And we are excited to hear from you at the Leading Colorado Luncheon on April 11th. With that, I'm going to hand it back over to Jerome and thank the Chamber for coming today. Excited to hear from our 9 News Leader of the Year finalists. Thank you for letting me be a part of this and honor these amazing finalists.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. And we really appreciate our partnership with the Betcher Foundation and your support of the Betcher Student Leader of the Year. Finally, congratulations, Gabe, in terms of being our 2024 Betcher Student Leader of the Year. And now I'm honored to introduce our moderator today, 9 News anchor, Alexandra Lewis. We've been very fortunate to have Alex work with us over the past several years in terms of our Meet the Finalists. And we're just happy to have her here again to really go through the process to learn a little bit more about our finalists. So with that, let's get to the important stuff, and I will bring up Alex. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Hi, Jerome. Thank you for having me. There I am. Hi. It's so good to have all of you guys with us today on this very snowy Thursday, but we wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to meet these incredible finalists and get to know a little bit more about them. You know, being a part of this with 9 News, I just feel like every year you get to hear from these incredible leaders and you get to be inspired how you're going to go out and maybe make a difference in your community once you hear the backstories, you hear the trials and tribulations and everything that these folks have gone through to become the leaders they are today and the impacts they make in our community. Really, I mean, it can't be overstated. So we are going to tell you a little bit about them and their accolades, but the best part is really getting to hear from them. So let's just dive into it. It is my honor to present these leaders, and we will start with John Farnam. So let me tell you a little bit about John. He is a visionary servant leader and the managing director of the Morgridge Family Foundation, which champions, funds, and works to transform the child welfare system and education system in our country and community. John grew up in rural Montana, so he saw firsthand how both of these systems could improve. He brought these perspectives with him to his work, which resulted in raising $6.5 million for Aurora's first approved charter school. That led to his work transforming Goodwill Industries by establishing the $10 million Goodwill Endowment Fund, and on to his current work, overseeing partnerships associated with over $150 million in Morgridge Family Foundation grants. John has played an instrumental role in the creation of MindSpark Learning. He won the Do Something Award during his tenure as the executive director of the Northern Colorado AIDS Project, advised the Colorado Governor's Leadership Committee on COVID relief. Now He's serving as the Child Welfare Fellow with the Common Sense Institute. John, we are so proud to have you here and can't wait to hear a little bit more directly from you in a moment. It is my honor now to present you with our finalist number 2, Ms. Lorez Meinhold. Lorez is a humble and collaborative leader and the founding executive director of the Caring for Denver Foundation. Lorez has been leveraging inclusive collaboration to positively transform health and well-being in Colorado for over 20 years as a grant maker, health policy expert, and advocate. Most recently, she led the Caring for Denver Foundation from startup to operational in less than 18 months. Their team has distributed more than $140 million in funding since 2019. Lorez's ability to center people and communities' lived experience in identifying priorities and shaping solutions has been the hallmark of her work across numerous areas that affect Colorado communities. These are areas that include mental health, substance misuse, aging and disability, early childhood development, and health equity. Lorez has also played a critical role in developing Denver's widely recognized support team assisted response, the STAR program. In addition, she serves our community in a variety of roles outside of her career, notably as current and past board chair of Project Angel Heart, Connect for Health Colorado, and the Colorado Consumer Health Initiative. Lorez, welcome. I can't wait to hear from you. And last but certainly not least, our finalist number 3, Mr. Peter LiFari. Peter is a committed and visionary community leader and the chief executive officer of Maiker Housing Partners. Peter was raised in New York, where he grew up as an artist before working in national security. He applied the skills learned in both of these fields to disrupting generational poverty through his work in the housing sector, where he served as the deputy director of the Adams County Housing Authority. He led his team there through a process to reinvent the organization, a socially conscious public housing authority with a commitment to family stability and economic self-sufficiency. He's been appointed by the governor to serve on the inaugural Colorado statewide Middle-Income Housing Authority Board. He's a Common Sense Institute Fellow, is the board chair of the Community Investment Alliance and co-chair of the Rocky Mountain Partnership. In addition, he was recently recognized as the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials Outstanding Professional of the Year. Peter, welcome. So just by hearing those bios, you know how impressive these 3 are, and this is going to be an incredibly hard decision for everybody who takes the time to vote. But we want to get to know them, I think, on a more personal level. I think the best way to start off these conversations is always giving us a little moment. So this question is for all 3 of our finalists. And the question is pretty simple. Like, I want you to think back to a moment in your leadership journey, right, up until this very moment that really kind of shaped who you are, the leader that you are today. If there's like one defining moment that really captures who you became and what put you in this position where you're in front of us all today. Let's start with John. Do you mind taking this question first and just giving us a little glimpse into your past and your journey?
I'm very happy to take it. Thank you, Alex. And it's such an honor to be here next to Lorez and Peter. Congratulations to both of you as well. My leadership experience, the one moment that is most memorable for me that I lean on all the time goes all the way back to my very first professional job in a large organization, and that was at Goodwill Industries of Denver. When I was the vice president of marketing, I was one of 5 cabinet members on the president's cabinet. And in my first year, I like to work in a very agile environment. And if I see an idea, I want to share it, I want to implement it, I want to go. And my peer vice presidents didn't feel the same way that I did. And so I would like to say Goodwill was a steamship, and I was used to working in an environment of like a water ski boat. And so when my first year review came up, and Tim Welker was the CEO at the time, delivered my first year review, I probably should have been released. I should have been fired. And instead what he did, and I appreciate him to this day for this, and it is marked my leadership style forever, was he assigned me a mentor. And that mentor became a dear friend. And that dear friend has stuck with me for all of my professional life. And what it really showed me and led me to believe is Surround your people, whether it is your team at work, whether it is your neighbors, whether it's your church or faith community. Surround them and give them all the tools and resources that they need to show up as their best selves in whatever role they play.
Great advice, Doug. Thank you for that. Let's go to Peter next. Tell us a defining moment from your past that kind of describes the leader that you are.
Thanks, Alexander. Yeah, and I'd just like to thank 9 News and the Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation and my fellow finalists. It's just an honor to be here. I'm just over the moon. I think for me, I've been blessed with wonderful leaders and mentors who believed in me, who picked me up when I was down, who imparted their wisdom, gave me the keys to the car, and challenged me to strive for greatness. Starting back in high school with an art school teacher who saw something in me and encouraged and nurtured me and challenged me to pursue my love of art. To Ron Head when I was working in national security, who treated me like a fellow Marine. He's and really pushed me to challenge and improve what I thought my leadership style and capabilities could be. And then ultimately Don May at Maiker, who changed my life. Don took a chance on a guy from national security who he believed had the transferable skills to be able to drive our mission forward and then take over the agency and move it forward in the direction that he knew and that we were required to go. And so, for me, going back to what John had shared, it's really about mentors. I think, for me, and being transparent, I, as you mentioned, coming from an art background, for years, I was a little bit sheepish about that. Art schools tend to be the brunt of jokes, but, when I got into housing and I saw the vulnerability of the folks that we serve and the people that I worked with and my fellow PHA directors, all of those concerns, all of those self-consciousness of where I came from turned into my superpower and being able to solve problems, being able to work creatively, having no deadline I couldn't meet, no task that I couldn't kind of try to sink my teeth into. And so really that moment led me to becoming more, allowing my inner voice to become more of my outer voice. And in late 2019, I started to share these little musings that I was writing about love, about life, art, and affordable housing. And then that led straight into the pandemic. And then really with the pandemic to empower the Maiker team to be able to transform what a housing authority is capable of being. And so, to put those people, to put my fellow Maikers in the driver's seat, empower their gifts and strengths, ensure that, as John mentioned, that they have the tools and to be able to accomplish and solve their problems without telling them how to solve them, but simply being able to say that you're worthy, you have the opportunity, you can get wherever you need to go. And during COVID, we did tremendous work. I'm always going to be proud of what we were able to do in emergency rental assistance, how we were able to mobilize to support our staff, support those that we serve, and be able to keep as many Adams Countyites housed and thriving. And that's really a bit of my leadership experience.
Yeah, it's always such a beautiful thing. It truly turns out to be one of the greatest strengths. So thank you for sharing. Lorez, this question for you as well. Tell us about that defining moment that stands out in your mind that created the leader.
Well, thank you so much, and such a true honor to be beside John and Peter in this work. They are amazing, and many thanks to the Denver Metro Chamber as well as 9 News. But I'd say one of the moments that really shaped my worldview early on was when my aunt became paralyzed. When this happened, it changed her path. She never focused on the things she couldn't do or the path that she was no longer on, but really took every opportunity to make a change in the world. And so it inspired me not to be focused on or bound by what is, but look for what could be. So that's really been a lot of the core of my leadership journey is when I see opportunities to make a difference, I want to go for it. And so I see that same potential in so many people and so many of the communities that I get to work with. And like Peter and like John, I've been very fortunate to have strong mentors that have shown me the importance of servant leadership, inspired me to pursue a life that was committed to equity, inclusive collaboration, and authenticity. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Women's History Month and wanted to recognize all the women that have really surrounded me in my journey. My life has been curated, uplifted by kind, smart, bold, and compassionate women of all races and identities. And I really am a product of those architects.
Nothing like women empowering women. Lorez, thank you. And I actually want to pose this next question to you because you have created so much change. I mean, wide ranging, right? Change throughout our communities here in Colorado, and you don't create that type of change without facing certain challenges. So I'm curious, what challenges consistently came up for you as you were forging your way to create the change that you did, Colorado?
Yeah, I so appreciate it. I think sometimes, and this was actually mentioned by one of our student leaders, so I appreciate it. It's not a challenge that I think all of us face this, but it's been about doing things differently. Not everybody is made for change or likes change. Trailblazing, risk-taking can make many uncomfortable, especially if we're comfortable with the way things are, when that status quo is aligned with our identity. So part of my journey with others has been helping them really think about and realize that discomfort's not a bad thing. And the best way to approach discomfort is for all of us to understand what's behind it so that we have a shared understanding and a commitment to really what we're solving for. And we can do this by collaborating, by listening, by learning. We can ensure that changes fit, especially if we put at the heart of it the lived experience of people. And then we create safe spaces to recognize when we got it right and when we got it wrong, and what were those reasons. But ultimately, I think it's about having the courage to addressing challenging problems and maintaining the patience to keep up and at it, even when we're impatient for the change that's needed.
Next question for John. I want to ask you, because you have done so much work nationally, internationally, been all over the place, affecting communities. I'm curious from your perspective, what makes Colorado so different, right? It's such a unique community, but when you are doing the work that you do, what does doing that work here in Colorado mean to you?
I love Colorado. Colorado is my home. It's the home to the Morgridge Family Foundation and the Morgridge family. And in being such, we have a lot of really strong connections and strong leaders that we know very, very well in the state of Colorado. And with having such a large orbit of folks who are making a difference in our community, it allows us to invent and create and iterate on really good, big, bold ideas and get them right here in Colorado, where we have a loving, supportive culture and environment, where we have access to the right people to help us imagine solutions to some of the country's largest challenges. And we do it here, though, in our own backyard. Once we get it right, like Lorez said, then take that and scale. And we have that great fortune to work nationally and a little bit internationally, where when we find good ideas and incubate and create them here, we do take them to scale. The John and Carrie at the foundation truly believe in amplifying really good, solid leaders and their ideas. And that is what I love most about working, operating, and living in Colorado, and then having a thumbprint across the country.
Awesome, John. Thank you for sharing. Peter, you're up next. I'm curious, in this unique community of Colorado as well, how do you go about identifying the specific needs of those who live in Colorado and then going to access and articulate solutions for those specific issues?
Yeah, I think it starts with human-centered design and walking the good earth that the people we serve do. And as a leader of a PHA, I have the blessing of working in and for Adams County communities. I believe in the power of people. I believe in their gifts and strengths, and I don't have to look far to find them. Our community members and Adams County community members as a whole, reach out to me. They reach out to me via phone, via email, and they share their needs. They share what is, keeping them from being able to accomplish what they are striving to achieve. And so, it's really about, kind of engaging yourself in community, not assuming that you can diagnose an individual's, faults, let's say, or what their deficit is. It's really focusing on their inherent strengths and their multitude of gifts, and then starting to say, okay, how can we carry what is your truth, what is your reality, and then tie that into what's being driven at a system level. And so, for me, it really comes back to collaboration, altruism, bipartisanship, a ton of listening, a ton of questions, and hopefully with some good fortune, outcomes that benefit Coloradans, because I am blessed with the opportunity to walk into rooms where decisions are made, whereas those that I serve are often excluded from those areas of opportunity. And so taking my privilege as a white man, taking my experience, my lived experience, those that I serve, and really being sure that I put them front and center, and then working like crazy across the aisle to say, we can do this, and being an extreme optimist and not taking, no for an answer, or when something doesn't go your way or my way, saying, okay, we can retool this, we can deploy this again. A great idea that doesn't pass doesn't mean it's not a great idea, especially when it's born from the community that I serve.
I want to remind anybody who's watching, if you have questions come up as you're hearing from our dynamic leaders, just throw a question in the group chat. We'll try to get to those at the end so we can hear directly from you. I think that would be a great opportunity. I want to ask a question about the legacy, right? And this is going to be for all three of you. So as we're always striving to create great communities, I'm curious if you can reflect on an effort you were or maybe are currently a part of that truly made an impact in your community. I'm sure this has happened various times throughout your career, but like what's one moment that stands out that you really feel like you affected and changed the lives of people who live here in Colorado? Peter, do you want to go? So we just heard from you.
Yeah, thanks. There's nothing like opening the doors to a community and a unit that we've spent years developing as a team at Maiker, but they're just units until heartbeats turn them into homes. And I can remember one of our projects. There was one of the first office conversions in the state, and a wonderful partnership with Adams County government and many other stakeholders, where we transformed a place of former trauma, where there was a building called the former Children and Family Services building, where kiddos were placed into foster care, and John works tirelessly on this. And there was a place where there was a lot of trauma, of pain, albeit necessary as folks were placed into foster care. But we worked together with foster youth, we worked with experts and nonprofits and the county, and we were able to transform this place of pain to a place of respite. Now that's 116 units of deeply affordable housing in unincorporated Adams County, of which 12 units are serving youth that have aged out of foster care. And when the first youth that aged out of foster care walked into that unit and turned it into a home and broke down in tears and embraced my dear colleague, Diana, who is in our Housing Choice Voucher program, just a tremendous maker who inspires me every day. And then to see Diana become emotional, I get goosebumps today. And so, it was the emotion of this beautiful person who never thought that they were worthy of having a home of their own. Their clothes were in a garbage bag, frankly. They were nervous and scared, and they weren't sure if they should be getting that unit because there were so many other folks that needed a home. But to say, no, that you're worthy, we see you, we believe in you, this is your home, we're here for you, was a moment of immense pride, and to this day sticks with me and guides me in the decisions that that I'm allowed to make as leading this wonderful entity.
That story is going to stick with us too. I got goosebumps. Seriously, thank you for sharing that. Lorez, a moment for you that you think when you think about legacy. I know you guys are young, you've got a lot more to do and impact our community, but what's a moment that stands out as something that you're proud of doing for this community?
Yeah, I mean, I would really say that co-creation of Caring for Denver, and I say co-creation because so many community members have walked beside us, giving their time, trust, and expertise so that we could build this foundation in a time of great need. This was built during COVID, where there was a time of great loss of jobs, loss of life, loss of connections, which we know is at the heart of a lot of our mental health and substance misuse needs. And it doesn't mean that there weren't needs before, but it has added to what we need to address as communities. And so being able to get that money out and get it into the hands of organizations. So over 240 organizations now have grants to actually better serve community, which has meant more than, over this last year, 100,000 people in Denver were reached through these investments, and 9,000 people receive care in their community. So it's organizations like the Center for African American Health, who, by embedding mental health supports in their community with care that looks like them, 85% of the folks that showed up had never accessed services before, and 96% completed 15 to 18 visits. And so this is really transformational. And then of the organizations working in their community, 77% reported reduced substance misuse, 76% improved mental health. And I know these are just numbers, but it's real people each time. And so it's really changing lives and improving outcomes in our community. And it's so many people have come together to do this and to really make a difference in our community. So it's been an honor to be a part of this and just creating a different way of looking at some of our needs and how we address it differently.
Same question we'll pose to John before we move on to the next. So again, what's that moment that stands out for you?
The moment that stands out for me truly is looking at a young man who came into our lives. He was working at Mile High United Way at the time. And Carrie and John and my husband Paul and I met this amazing young man. His name is Gordon. And Gordon is one of the folks that Peter was just talking about, somebody who was in the foster care system, and he had aged out of the foster care system without permanency. And the elements of permanency that are missing for him and for all those who age out are the things like when I wanted my mom's goulash recipe, I would call her up as an adult and get her goulash recipe. Those kinds of things aren't readily available if there is no adult in these young people's lives. And so between Carrie and John and Paul and I, Gordon now is our chosen family. And so when things are stressful or he has questions that all kids might have, I want to buy a car. How do I get a car loan? I want to set up a bank account. How do I set up bank accounts? So the things that any child would have asked their parents for is what's most important for me. And that is what's driven some of the community impact that we've had, particularly in the foster care space, as Peter indicated. We go all the way back to 2015 when Morgridge Family Foundation was curious about completion and graduation rates of kiddos who were in foster care from age of 5 all the way up through 21. And we were able to get a data sharing agreement in record time between child welfare and the Colorado Department of Education. And what we discovered when the data was delivered back to us was that we were graduating high school students at a rate of 27% across the state, 14% in the city and county of Denver. And we know without a high school graduation or diploma, the future is so bleak for so many people, especially young people who don't have that adult network around them, surrounding them, embracing them, and there to answer questions for them. So that we spent a lot of time with the Mile High United Way team developing ideas, recommendations, and solutions for this very vulnerable population. It then led to our recent work where we wanted to answer the question of the young people aging out of foster care. Are they in family sustaining wage jobs? Are they voucher hopping for housing and to be safe and off the streets? What are the conditions that they're living in? And for those where it works, we want to replicate that. We want to create more opportunities for our foster kids aging out of foster care without permanency. So what we did, the data is out there. There's no data sharing agreement between the two departments right now, Department of Labor and Industry and our Office of Children, Family, and Youth. I want to see that data. Every single stakeholder that I talked to in preparing for this report said the same thing. When you find this data, we really want to see what the data tells us. So we pivoted a little bit and started looking at the costs, both real and unrealized, of one cohort of 2022, 213 children who aged out of foster care without permanency. What we discovered through REMI, a modeling program, economic modeling program at Common Sense Institute, is that one cohort of 213 children, as they aged for 10 years, cost us and them in unrealized wage earnings, in incarceration, in early parenting, and homelessness, $775 million for one cohort over a 10-year span. This means we need to do some work to invest in those young people earlier on. Start talking about high school graduation early on. Start incentivizing foster families to get their young people across the finish line for high school graduation early on. The cascading effect for these young people is massive. Senate Bill 2208, it provides for post-secondary education for any child that was in foster care from age 13 on. We only now have 30% of our kids graduating high school. So we have a lot of folks that are not able to use that particular benefit to create a life for themselves, and a life of access to the economy that we all get a benefit from.
Peter, I want to pose a question to you because it feels like it's something we're discussing a lot right now in the news in a lot of places in Colorado, just dealing with housing affordability and this idea as well of disrupting generational poverty. And so I'm more curious on this question, your opinion, like what needs to happen so that all Coloradans can, you know, ultimately live their best lives, but live the life that they aspire to live in a place that is just getting more expensive and a lot would say harder to exist in and to thrive in.
Yeah. Our housing unit deficit shortfall is crippling our ability for Coloradans to thrive. And I think it starts. Everything comes back to love, right? Everything begins with love. Love for thyself, love for thy neighbor, love for your community. Because for once we humans believe that we are worthy of love, we give and allow ourselves to receive it. We then allow ourselves to seek and receive connection. And in doing so, we allow our true selves to emerge. And then an interesting thing happens is that the world reciprocates. And this is very difficult for us when we are children of trauma, pain, and abuse, trauma from housing instability, pain from hunger, abuse from those that we require love from, because they too were once children of pain, suffering, and abuse. And so they shut their true self off from the world, and they don't believe that our society serves them. And so they don't engage in society, and and our society just rumbles on and often rumbles over them. And so, as a society, as a community, as leaders, I believe it's our obligation to ensure that each of us has our basic needs met. And housing is that fundamental need. And so that is where I serve, and that is where I feel most at where I belong. And so, I believe that housing is a human right. And so that trauma, pain, and abuse does not steal our belief in society, our belief in ourselves. And so that importantly, it does not steal our belief that we are indeed worthy of love and opportunity. And it starts with a strong foundation, a strong home, a loving family, friends, an education, a vibrant and diverse community. These are the solutions that give each of us agency. They give us influence, and yes, just maybe, hopefully, happiness, so that we can then pursue our God-given right to pursue happiness that's bestowed in our Bill of Rights. And so, for me, each one of us that is hurting, that has been marginalized, that do not believe that we have a place, we shutter our true abilities from the world. But when those things fall away and we are given agency and opportunity, watch out, because there's nothing that these children and families can't accomplish. And that is my true north. And I believe that is why Maiker is so special, and the people that make Maiker who Maiker is.
You're doing the incredible work that you are. Lorez, I want to ask you about, because I heard you mention this idea of like learning in. Can you describe that a little more for us? Or maybe even just tell me about a time where listening and learning from community members completely changed a project for the better. Maybe you were on one track and you took another direction because of the listening that's needed to be the type of leader that you are.
Yeah, so appreciate it. The whole point of learning in is maybe not always about that complete or radical change. but about gathering insights in real time that leads us to small shifts for better results. And so Caring for Denver was created through an ordinance, and it created areas of funding: mental health, substance misuse, suicide prevention, addressing trauma, a lot of the trauma Peter was just talking about. And so, like Peter, we feel like community, those folks with lived experience, really understand these issues and understand healing and recovery in Denver better than even we. We all come to this work with different lenses and different experiences. So we really listen to community to really inform how we approach that healing and recovery. And it was through that listening that our community partners really gave us some new ways to think about the impacts of the ordinance and what did we need to shift to know that we were on track. And how what changed was maybe even sometimes our linear thinking, that measuring mental health and substance misuse improvement are really point in time measures. And what community helped us understand, it wasn't as meaningful unless they were combined with other signals of progress, like engaging people in their recovery or having those trusted spaces so that they could accept that recovery, so that they could address their trauma, so they could show up fully. It really broadened our understanding of what success was and what was needed. And so we're 4 years in now. And so we continue to learn with and learn in with our community partners to ensure that we are creating solutions that really creates that lasting change, not just point in time.
Next question here for John. And I love this question because I think it's important for all of us to really think about. From your perspective, like, how is showing up as your authentic self? How is being authentic at all times really a component in becoming a great leader and affecting change?
Thank you for the question, Alex. I believe wholeheartedly that if what you want most in your life, you give away. If you want love, you give away love. It comes back to you. If you want trust, you give away trust. You'll be surrounded by trust. If you want empathy, you be empathetic. It's the same way with authenticity. So when we show up in rooms as our authentic selves, we are granting permission and inviting people in to show up in the exact same way. Again, leveraging the human talents and human capital that every single one of us possess. We just show up differently with it. As Lorez said, some people are very interested in creating change and some are very interested in supporting systems that already exist. And so authenticity is something that's very, very important to me, as is mutual trust and respect.
That just gave me the warm and fuzzy a little bit. Okay, guys, you also a reminder to send in your questions. I want to hear from you who are listening to our leaders. Where do we want to go next? I actually would like all of you to take a moment to speak to not only the student leaders who are already making waves in their communities as students, but, you know, as you all know, to get to this point where you're a finalist for the 9 News Leader of the Year, you've had to climb and you've had so many different stages of your leadership journey. Maybe talk to some of those who are at the beginning of their journeys, and what kind of advice do you have for those who want to be in the position that you are today of truly leading the community, being up for this incredible honor? But give us some advice. Let's see, who wants to? Lorez, you want to take this one first?
Love to. First, truly amazed at the student leaders. You all are winners in my book. But what I would offer everybody is be adventurous, take risks, really never put limits on yourself, and make sure you keep your passion at the center of what you do. And I think a really important thing, especially in the way the world is happening today, is that how do we really think about amplifying each other's voices and ideas, and we praise one another and be open to learning. It's really from that multitude of voices we get to the best solutions.
Here, what about you?
You know, those that know me know that one of my heroes is Muhammad Ali, and so his amazing kind of quarterman said, rumble, rumble, young man, rumble. I'll say, rumble, young folk, rumble. First know that you are unique, yet you are not alone, and you're intelligent, yet you do not need to know everything. You're passionate, yet you may not always feel as such. You're confident, or you wouldn't be here, but yet you are allowed to feel amazing one minute and not so amazing the next. It's okay. These things are by design. Just, know just kind of like what John just shared a moment ago, is that the greater you give, the greater you feel. And when you feel like a million, watch out, because there's nothing that can or will keep you down for too long. And so step into the ring of your choosing. Those butterflies, they're just telling you you're onto something. And so rumble, young folks, just rumble.
Also, John, weigh in, give us a little advice.
Yes, I love this question. It reminds me of John Morgridge telling Carrie and I, you are showered in opportunities and you all grab them. You grab all of them and you grab maybe too many of them. And I think that that is a really beautiful view into what is possible, broadening your aperture to make sure that you know what you know, but you're bringing people who have different lived experiences than you into your world, into your orbit to learn and grow and thrive from. I feel like I take every single meeting request that is made of me because I'm constantly learning. The foundation is a learning organization, and we encourage our teams, both the board, the volunteers, and our staff, to always be hungry to learn, always be out there looking for the next greatest thing that you can get passionate about. It's not about Carrie and John getting passionate about it. It's about every single person on our team finding what they're passionate about and pursuing that.
Final question from me directly, and this will be for all three of you, and I think it's a good way to kind of close out my questions. It's just to ask you individually, what makes you most excited about Colorado's future? Your different perspectives. I mean, look at the big picture. What is the most exciting thing about the place we live in and the future that awaits all of us? John, you want to take this one first?
I'm happy to take this. We just saw a great demonstration of what makes me excited and hopeful for Colorado, and that is Gabe, Talia, Zaire, and Gia. That right there that's what makes me hopeful and happy about the future of the state of Colorado. And places like the Metro Chamber Leadership Foundation and Nine News, bringing these stories forward and showing others that you have it within you to help bring the solutions that our state so desperately needs and is longing for forward.
Peter, what's your
I did that to John. It's about people, and it's about the kind of pioneering spirit that still permeates our great state. It's a welcoming place. It's a place of opportunity. It's a place of entrepreneurship. It's a place of art and culture, and it's a place where you're not beholden to entrenched societal structures where you are kept out of opportunities simply because of your name or the color of your skin or where you went to school. If you have an idea, if you're altruistic, if you're empathetic, if you raise your hand and say, I want to help, if you raise your hand and say, I feel like I can, there's someone in need and I want to serve, then Colorado embraces you. And, it's that wanderlust of opportunity. And I think as mentioned, the students of the year embody that, and my fellow finalists do. And so, for me, it's been a blessing for me and my wife and my daughters. I'm proud to call myself Coloradan because the potential is limitless here, and we see people coming here to pursue their dreams.
And it becomes a better place every day because of incredible leaders like you and the work that you do. You're not off the hook just yet because I'm getting some really good questions from our audience, and I think we'll just dive into them if you guys don't mind answering a couple questions from the folks who will be voting directly. So here's a good one. When you talk about, there's a couple questions about this, about long-term goals versus short-term goals. And I think you guys can all relate, right? Like how do you balance, I think is the best way to put this question. How do you balance short-term goals with your long-term vision? Like, how do you get to the bigger picture when you know you have to get through A, B, C, D, E, F, to get there? And that's for any of you, anyone who wants to chime in to answer this can.
I'll take this. Oh, go ahead, Lorez, please.
No, John, you go. You go.
I love this question. It's the one that haunts me all the time, and it was posed to me from a very dear friend, and he said, "John, what is the Farnam legacy going to be?" And that is a really big question. That's a really, really big question. But what it drives is the incremental decision making that goes into getting through every single day as my best human possible. And I pose that question as well to many of my colleagues. What is going to be your legacy? What would that look like? And how do we implement strategies and things today to get you to that legacy, whatever you envision it to be?
Lorez, you can answer.
And sure, probably what I was going to add to that is, we have to have both. We have to hold on to that long term, even if we're not quite sure how we're going to get there. But it's the short term goals that fit and get us to. And as you set that shared vision, that co-creation, we're all working towards that. And what those short term goals do too is it gives you those wins, because you need those wins in order to have the patience to stick at the complexity. And it gives you that time to learn into and figure out what are the answers we need, and how do we really continue to listen to our community to make sure that we get to both and address both the short term and the long term.
Yeah, I'd echo that, Alexandra. I think, it's first off, you have to be willing to paint a picture, and then you have to be willing to share it, right? And then you have to be willing to fail, right? And the question that came up next. And then, there's project management, you can break things down into, bite-sized pieces, and then have milestones, right? And identify that through SMART goals. And so there's many ways that we talk about this, but I think it all starts with having the vulnerability and transparency of saying, here is my goals, right? And putting that on paper, because the power of manifestation is real, right? So if you write things down, they have a greater propensity of accomplishing them than not. And then believing, as I mentioned earlier, like you could have a wonderful idea. It's so far on the vanguard, perhaps, that the rest of your environment hasn't quite caught up. But then it starts to permeate the environment and becomes infectious. And then other people start to iterate it with you. And so you have this force multiplication of all those that are around you and their gifts and strengths and their benefits and the way they look at things. And so just the first thing is just create, put it on paper. Don't hold it too dear. Some folks will love it. Some folks will hate it. Some folks will be indifferent. But at the end of the day, the more you're creating, the more opportunities you have for success, the more it starts to multiply.
A couple questions in here regarding how you've pulled yourself out of a failure, describing a failure that you have experienced throughout your career. But I think another great way to describe this is another question, which is essentially, how have your missteps shaped the leader that you are today? We all make mistakes, but how have those mistakes created the greatness that we see in front of us now? And you can all take this up. Peter, do you want to start with this one?
Sure. A big part of this too, I think, is identifying what is a mistake, right? So is it critical failure or non-critical failure? We talk a lot about this at the agency. Non-critical failure is called progress. It's called creativity. It's called innovation, right? Critical failure is, and a lot of folks don't understand this. And so I believe that people don't wake up each morning looking to do harm to their fellow human. They just haven't been clearly articulated to the rules of engagement, right? And so folks just go about their day doing what they think as they think it's best. And so, critical failure is you damage the brand, you damage your fellow employees, you damage those that you serve in any multitudes of ways. And if you clearly articulate that, most people don't want to do anything to do with that. And so first and foremost, as a leader, setting the expectation of what's the sandbox, when you're allowed to play outside of it, so that people, again, can adapt, and can influence their environment. And so, for me as a failure, I lost my temper early in my career. I may have been in the right in this situation back when I was in NatSec, and I really did a disservice to the individual that I was leading. And, a mentor of mine said, Peter, you may have been right, but you were wrong, right? By losing your temper, by not demonstrating, our core values, you ultimately set yourself back. And I had to go through a deep retrospective and introspective there and ask myself, why was I triggered? What was it? What are my insecurities? Why am I so upset about this? And I apologize to that individual. And ultimately, I grew a lot, but it had a big impact on me. And I think about that frequently. I think about, first and foremost, I have to look in the mirror. I have to know myself. I have to understand my emotional state. And I have to realize that, folks, you're a beacon as a leader. You set the tone. And you could either be a positive, you could be a giver, or you could be a taker. And you certainly don't want to be a leader and be a taker.
Thank you for that introspective response. Yeah, Lorez, please. Okay.
Sure. Again, I think it's core when I talk about learning is, it's definitely everything Peter talked about, but as long as you're learning, there is no failure, because learning really requires this journey of personal development where you're looking inwards, you're seeking feedback, and you're figuring out what behavior needs to change. It's super important to be open to sharing your personal successes and failures and the reason behind that. And as John talked a lot about being authentic, we're not perfect and we shouldn't expect perfection, but how are we good and always working towards better? And so if you focus on the learning, what you do is you create that organizational knowledge to make better decisions and create better strategy. You know what you want to do more of, less of, or differently. And it really allows you to reflect, foster open discussion. It helps you manage that unpredictability and lets us think more systemically. So it's so important to not hold so tight to the perfection that you look as not meeting that as a failure. Instead is, how do we hold what the ideal is and the actual, and then seek to bring them together?
In philanthropy, we share our failures boldly and unapologetically, because those were everything that Peter and Lorez has said about learning from them is exactly what we institute at the foundation, and personally, and that's the same philosophy. Taking it one step further, grace, forgive yourself. Don't let that burden you, hold you back, and hold you from being the creative human being that you are, because that's the person that we all want to surround ourselves with, is that bold, big thinker, somebody who made a mistake because they tried something bold and learned from it, and then gave themselves grace, because again, you put it out there, it's going to come right back to you. So modeling that grace in our everyday life, I think, is very, very important as well.
Something none of us do enough of, right? Giving ourselves that grace. Final question I think I'm going to ask of you guys, and I love this one because I think it really hits home. The question is, when it comes to community, what does a leader look like? I think to their point, I'm assuming is, not all of us are in these high-powered leadership positions, but what is just a leader in our individual communities? What does that look like? How can we become one? Good question. Anybody want to take it away?
I'll take it.
I'm happy. Oh, John, you go.
Okay, I'm happy to take this one. To me, leaders are all around us. Our job and our role as leaders who have achieved the roles that we have and the work that we get to do, and the wonderful privilege that we get to live in, is to spot and find those other leaders out there in community and create the situations and scenarios where they get to develop into the leader that they view themselves as being. Paul and I volunteer at the Senior Resource Center and serve senior citizens food. I love Paul will be in the kitchen because he's prepared the meal. He's the cook, he's the chef of us. And I will go out and talk to people in the line and hear their stories. And the stories are so rich of what caused them to end up in a situation where they didn't have a home or were sleeping on the streets. And I find it fascinating to go back into time with them and ask them what was the pivotal point in their life that made this happen, and what would it take to undo it and to get them housing stable in an environment. It's a fascinating experiment. I love doing it with him, and I always learn so much. And that line of senior citizens, they're full of leaders in our community.
And maybe I'll just add to that. It's exactly as John said, everybody's a leader. It's about seeing everybody's strength. It's understanding relationships and how important relationships are to support us as we're all being leaders. It's many of the characteristics we've talked about. It's about being authentic, approachable, vulnerable. It's about creating those safe spaces. It's really one of the most important things, and I can't remember if John or Peter said it, but it's allowing people to learn into being a leader. It's not just about occupying a leadership position. That's not the same thing as leading. To lead, it's about connecting, motivating, inspiring around some shared objectives, some shared pieces. And so everybody has something that they're passionate about, and everybody can lead. And as we all talked about, there are different things that brought us, different issues, different causes, different people that have brought us to leadership. And we all have that in our DNA. We are all born to be leaders.
I'll add, I think, the famous, Simon Sinek has a great saying, a book, it's called Leaders Eat Last. It's just, again, where you see, community members who are putting the needs of others first before their own. Generally, you also see a lot of curiosity. I think my fellow finalists have talked about this as well. And so a genuine curiosity about other people's experiences, other people's wisdom, other people's, loves and passions. And then, just being there, through thick and thin. And leaders are easily identified by a group because they model those behaviors. They model safety. They model what it means to be seen and heard in their unique environments. And as I think John said, we're all leaders. I think we're just at different stages of our journey. And sometimes it takes another leader to say, hey, you're a leader and it's okay. And other people really appreciate you.
We're grateful for all three of you and the stages of your journeys. John, Lorez, Peter, thank you for being here. Let me just commend you and say it is so difficult to be personable and charismatic and charming, on a Zoom, and you guys nailed it today. You answered every question with so much grace and poise and authenticity, and just thank you for that. You made my job easy. Very, very tough decision for all the folks who are going to be voting over the next month or so. Thank you for having me. You guys killed it. Thank you.
All right. I think, can you hear me? All right. Well, Alex, thank you so much for being our moderator again. You have this outstanding ability of really having our finalists go deep to really bring insights out that really help our community really understand who they are, how they became who they are on this journey that's brought them here to be a finalist. And so we so appreciate that. It is not an easy task to get there, but certainly in this manner of what we had today, the answers that were coming out of there were great. So again, thank you. We really appreciate you. Congratulations again to our 2024 9 News Leader of the Year finalists and the 2024 finalists for the Betcher Student Leader of the Year. And congrats again to Gabe Trujillo for being honored as the 2024 Betcher Student Leader of the Year. It's just been a wonderful time to hear from all of you, and it's just been great to see this process, and looking forward to how we ended here on April when we announced live. Certainly, I want to thank again our sponsors for this event, and there are many like any other event, but I really want to highlight our partners. Special thanks to 9 News team and all the viewers on 9news.com for joining us this evening. Really appreciate it. Voting for the 9 News Leader of the Year is open and will close on April 3rd. So cast your votes by visiting the link on our website. And please note, only one vote per person. We look forward to seeing you at the Leading Colorado Luncheon on April 11th, where you can hear more from the Betcher Student Leader of the Year, and the 9 News Leader of the Year will be announced live. Finally, I really just want to thank the Chamber and Foundation teams, along with the 9 News teams who have worked behind the scenes tirelessly over the past 2 days to ensure Mother Nature didn't really stop us from presenting this wonderful group here to all of you to hear the insightfulness of their leadership journey. So thanks, everyone. Stay warm. Looking forward to seeing the announcement in April. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you. It was great. You did a wonderful